Okay, all right. Welcome, guys, to the 14th E-Meet of Design Quotient Industry E-Meet. We are organizing this Industry E-Meet to bridge a specific gap that has with the understanding of students or design aspirants and parents. The fundamental basic gap is that students and parents would not know what happens in the industry, right? So to bridge that gap, we are every week we are introducing or inviting one of the design professionals to share their journey, to share their experiences and their work, so that parents and students can understand directly from these professionals what to expect, and accordingly we can prepare or give support to the students, right? So let me invite Vibha Arvind, student of DQ Labs, to introduce about DQ Labs, and we'll take it forward. All right.
Sure. Thank you, Umesh, sir. Good evening, everyone. DQ Labs, Design Quotient Labs, deeply believes that design has the power to make the lives of millions of people simple, beautiful, efficient, and memorable. With this belief, the founders of DQ Labs, Sean Disa and Umesh Kumar, both alumni of IIT Delhi, having a collective design industry experience of about 40 plus man years, have embarked on a journey to create design superheroes. In the last 13 years, they have mentored more than 12,000 students in creative careers. They are trying to achieve it by giving awareness, exposure, counseling, training, and mentoring to design aspirants, not only to get into top architecture, design, and fashion schools all across the world, but also going beyond to help them settle in their professional careers. Many aspiring design students and their parents are unaware of the creative professions and hence have many questions. To bridge this gap, each week, DQ Labs invites creative professionals in the fields of architecture, fashion, and design. The invited creative professionals will be explaining about one of their projects, the challenges they have gone through while executing their design projects, the design process that they have adopted, and many more interesting aspects of their profession. They will also talk about their story of becoming who they are now. We have had many interesting accomplished professionals in the past E-Meets that have sort of attracted design aspirants all across India and their parents who are holding high positions at the CXO levels in various industries. Today, we're elated to have with us celebrated design professional, Mr. Abhishek Bali. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me go and introduce a little more about Abhishek Bali. Right, so Abhishek drives the North American operations of Dassault Systèmes Global Innovation Program, and that's part of the SOLIDWORKS Strategy team based out of Boston, USA. He worked for 6 years as an industrial designer with organizations like Samsung Global Design Center, Lumium and Pentair Water. Abhishek made a switch to marketing when he joined MTS to lead its innovation team. After his MBA, Abhishek transitioned into his current role, which allows him to use his strong background in design and business and apply it to the world of 3D design, engineering, and simulation and beyond. Abhishek has completed his Bachelor's of Engineering in Civil Engineering from GNDEC Ludhiana and Masters of Engineering in Structures from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. He's done his MDes or Master of Design from IIT Delhi and Master of Business Administration MBA from Cornell University, Ithaca, New York. Abhishek, it's a pleasure having you on board today. Amazing profile you have, and actually it's an amazing thing to see how you've transitioned from design to business, okay, and how you're driving strategy and innovation through your experience with design. So really looking forward to hearing a lot more from you. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you, John. Thanks, Umesh. Thanks, Sean. So should I start with share my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, just let me know when you see it.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, hi everybody. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here, and like it'll be a very, I would say, informal plus formal, because that's the kind of person I am. And I was thinking when I was talking about DQ Labs with Umesh. Of course, he's one of my seniors. That I was asking him what are the challenges design students, especially at DQ Labs, are facing, and what are the questions. So based on that understanding, I thought it'll be good to go through my journey with you, and we'll take some pit stops around my key learnings and challenges. I think that'll be interesting, and I want to be very, very relevant. And usually I speak fast, but I think it'll be good. And feel free to take some elements when you're preparing your portfolio and other things from this. And of course, you can catch me later, and I'll give you my email address. So okay, let's get started. Okay, so in fact, before this, let me just give you a quick anecdote. So Umesh was my senior at IIT Delhi, and there's an interesting thing. When he got his job at General Motors, and I'm like, it was the best job that any designer from IIT could get back then. This was 2004. So he and I, we went to this restaurant called Cozy in COSI in Green Park in New Delhi. And while we were having dinner, so there was a clip playing on the on the television, and it was like some movie of Shah Rukh Khan in which so there was Shah Rukh Khan dancing and singing, and there was Sushmita Sen, who was supposed to be Shah Rukh's professor or teacher. So Umesh actually, while eating, he pointed it out, and he said that, Abhishek, there's something wrong with the education system right now. And this is 2004, mind you. And he said, I want to one day do something for it. And I thought, like Umesh has the best job like in the world or in the country. Like he's like digital sculpting designer at GM. What else do you want? But he said that, I'll do something about it. And his passion was very, very evident. And I'm so happy that, he's lived up to his passion of making a dent in the education industry, especially in design education industry. It was very, very much needed. And I congratulate him on that. So you guys are in safe hands. Okay. So take my word for it. Okay. So talking about me, so I've been always confused in life. I'll be like, no qualms about it. And but I have used this as my strength. And what I'm trying to tell you through this journey is that you have to have a degree of self-awareness to navigate through life. And this is how I have done that. So I've been breaking silos. I've been taking some calculated, some not so calculated risks, but somehow it kind of I've been able to manage my way through. And I'll tell you how I've been doing that. And probably there'll be some inspiration for you and some cues you can take. So I started my journey after my BTech in civil engineering from Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, Ludhiana, to Master of Structures from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. And then right away I went for my second master's from IIT Delhi, Master of Design, where Ramesh was my senior, and so was Sean. And then right after that, I joined Pentair Water as a project engineer in product design department. Then I switched to Lumium in Ahmedabad. I worked there for 15 months. And then I got a kind of a good global break in terms of joining Samsung Global Design as one of their three mobile phone designers in India. So we call it mobile here now, like in the US, but it's mobile phone. And then something happened like in in the way I felt about design, that made me make a shift to MTS Telecom or MTS India. So cutthroat telecom sector. And then I moved to the US, where I did my MBA from Cornell University, focused on innovation and technology. And then I joined my current role at Dassault Systems. So this is my journey. And I worked all across the world. Now this is a bit dated, I would say. This is 3-4 years ago, but basically I had worked in Seoul, headquarters of Samsung Design. And these are some of the projects or products that are in the market while I was a designer. But then I always think that uh, an individual's interests can be very directly mapped with the kind of books that he keeps. So just behind this laptop I have all these books. I just took a photograph yesterday. But they tell you about my interest, at least. So the first book, like it's by Sid Mead, and it's like about, like, he's a visual futurist. So I love reading Sid Mead and looking at his visuals, and Scott Robertson. And also I'm always thinking about the future. I'm learning CATIA, which is actually one of our products from Dassault Systèmes. So we make SolidWorks, CATIA, Simulia, Innovia, BioVia. But I always try to update my skills. I started Python also, like learning Python, but like life takes the best out of you. But always I'm always thinking of updating myself in terms of knowledge and skills. Then I picked up this book, Engineering Mechanics Dynamics, from my days at like during my bachelor's in Ludhiana. I somehow felt that some numericals, some problems got missed out, because when you're in engineering undergrad, or doing your BTech, you hardly study. Like it's like one day before the exam, and it's somehow, I thought the free body diagrams and all that stuff was very interesting to me, and it still is. So I thought, let me just pick it up and do something about it. So it's all interest. Then data science from scratch is very interesting, because I like to take data driven decisions. I was very good at data science at Cornell during my MBA. So I taught the class. So I have a very huge amount of interest in data. And then Knowledge is Beautiful is amazing. It's an information aesthetics book, which helps me bridge data and design. So I'm always about bringing order to chaos, or so chaos to order, so which way you want to see. Then When Things Start to Think is by Dr. Neil Gershenfeld. So I work very closely with him. He's the director for Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT. In my current job, I hold all these accounts for MIT, Harvard, and other institutes, like universities of repute. So I manage those accounts and relationship, because we do a lot of stuff with them. Then Symmetry of Things is amazing, because it's like I manage a fab lab in the North American headquarters of Dassault Systèmes in Boston, and I manage this. It's basically about digital fabrication workflows, 3D printers, and all that stuff. So I really love that. The maker movement is again interesting, because it came out of MIT and the Fab Foundation. There are so many fab labs across the world, and at SolidWorks we help them out with software. But then the other part is like startup communities is what my key job is. So I manage all these startup communities and innovation that goes on there, and I'll talk about it in a bit. But the last two books are very interesting. It's called Success and Luck. It's by one of my professors from Cornell. His name is Robert Frank, and it tells you the role that luck plays in your success as an individual. I believe in free will, which means that at any point in time, wherever you are, with whatever resources you have, you can make a difference. And that's what you should do as a student, because you have a lot of energy, and being confused is good. Okay, so don't worry about that. And finally, Think Like Da Vinci. This is interesting, because he talks about principles like Archienza, which is like mixing art and science, or using both sides of your brain, and fumato, which is like you should have enigma around whatever you do, because it gives you that creative energy, right? So let me just dive right into the design school at IIT. So no pretense, 2 years of my life, Master of Design degree. But the main thing is that I was not a very good student, to be very honest. Like I was always I was not a very hands-on guy. Most of my classmates were, and there was a definite edge they had over me. But the interesting thing was that when SolidWorks got introduced to us in the second semester, so that was a leveler in terms of skills. I didn't know any Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator, so I didn't know how to communicate visually. So SolidWorks gave me that platform. This is the year 2003. And it turned out that I and my batchmates, we started using SolidWorks for pretty much everything, like from designing this bulb and to this bike. Now it looks like it's okay, it's average, it's not even good, but back in the day, it was a huge achievement. Just waking up at night, the whole all nighters and all that stuff, and whatever you could see, you would just model. So this is a Concorde that I modeled back in the day. Now of course, now I know the history where like, so our company has a huge stake in aviation. Like Dassault Aviation is our sister company, and Dassault Systems was a spin-off from that. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is that you have to know, as a design student or a design aspirant, that design is a transformational, it's a life transformational career choice. It's not like a job. It will become a mindset for you. It can it takes you, it elevates you to no point of return. Actually, you'll open those folders in your brain, in your mind, that will never get closed. So it's a full-time commitment, I would say. And so you should definitely keep that in mind, right? And my advice to you, my learning was, be jack of all trades, but be master of at least one skill, right? Whether it's sketching, for me it was CAD. It helped me through, but take one skill and take it to final fruition. So these are some of my batchmates. We were a bit tense because of the uh, like everybody was tense because of what we'll do after this, will we have jobs? But if you look at their profile, everybody is a director or a senior designer right now, right? So everything works out, so don't worry about it. You are in safe hands, and as long as you are not lazy and doing the right thing, you'll be fine, right? The good news is that design is a very broad field. So even if you don't know sketching, even if you're not good with aesthetics, that's fine. You'll find something else. There's so many fields coming out of it. So be confused early and try to solve those problems. I think that'll be great. And I always believe in this theory that you're just a small particle in the huge accelerator of design and of life, right? Don't feel too important. You're just a particle, and everything will move in the right way. There's so many magnetic fields that you'll come across, in terms of your interactions, networks. Your inclinations will change, but as long as you are at top of your game, you're humble, you'll be fine, right? So I joined my first job in Pentair Water. Now this is interesting because I had a few of my seniors from IIT there, Rahul Kamble and Manu Verma. So we hit the ground running. There were five of us who joined Pentair. It's just like in a mass recruiting drive, but it was so interesting that from day one we were so busy. And my skill in SolidWorks actually came very handy, because there was like, it was said to be the hub spot of SolidWorks. Everything about the company was very SolidWorks based. The product life cycle management system, PLM systems, and all that stuff. So amazing knowledge. And I was lucky to work with some brilliant minds who lived, ate, and slept mechanical engineering, which was not my forte back then. Even it's not now even. But it's very interesting that although I was working with my team on a lot of products, and especially the pitcher filter, which actually the one that I have at home was designed by me. I still have those initial sketches, which is a great thing. But in addition to design, through my mentors like Rahul Kamble and Manu Verma, they took me to the depths of mechanical engineering, which I had never done. I always feared about that. As a designer, you are taught more about aesthetics and all that stuff, and your design is like your main focus. In mechanical engineering and production, manufacturing, they take a they you push it to the back burner or under the carpet, thinking that it's fine, it's not my job. But the best thing I learned there was no, it's everybody's job to make sure that your idea, your product that you're working on, it's everybody's baby. And this is where the seeds of this thinking actually started developing or gaining roots in me, that your design is just one part of the development cycle of an entire product. There's so many other things. And so I took this somewhere in life. I'll show you how. But then I was also, one a year into Pentair, I was lucky to have won the trust of the management there, and they put me in charge, or say co in charge of a very high fidelity, high visibility project for Brita picture filters from Clorox. And I learned a lot of things there, especially to design to a brief, because the client had said that you have to design this picture filter for a principal picture fan, and they had defined his persona very, very succinctly. And so it was an interesting exercise. At one point in time, we in India, like in our Center for Design and Research, CDR, in New Delhi, when we got into the skin of the user, we just thought that maybe this character is like Amir Khan in Dil Chahta Hai. And in fact, we put his slides and to the client. Of course, the client was in the US, and we said that, do you think this is the guy? And they said no. So we thought, okay, let's move on. Let's do a better research. But anyways, it's all in the game. Okay, so after 2 years at Pentair Water, I joined my second job at Lumium. So Lumium was back then called IDEA, which is like Innovative Design Engineering Animation. It's in Ahmedabad. They were working on a very interesting model. So they had an office in San Jose, or maybe San Francisco in California, and they had this thing going on where they were designing for U.S. patent. So the U.S. Patent and Telegraph Office, USPTO, releases 350 patents every week. And most of these patent holders, or they call them inventors, they don't know what to do with this piece of paper. So there's a long and circular, or not circular, but spiraling path that they take with the attorney, where the attorney makes a lot of money and all that stuff, but they get a patent. But what next? So this company actually helped those inventors go the next step, and in fact go to licensing with big companies. So it was amazing. But the interesting thing here for me as a designer, and which would be relevant for you, is that this was one of the first times I actually broke out of my comfort zone. We were very comfortable in, when I say we, me and my friend Satyakam and Sachin from IIT. So three of us actually moved to Lumium. It was starting, but we were very comfortable at Pentair. But then we thought that no, let's take a risk. And this was starting. It was supposed to be the biggest group of designers, animators, and marketing professionals. So we thought let's jump the bandwagon. It was very interesting because it was very collaborative, amazing people out there. A lot of flat structure, so you could learn from each other. So I was there just for 15 months, but I have friends, and I learn from them every single day to this point. There, one of the things that I kind of stumbled upon for myself was, I thought that if I'm churning out one or two projects every month, like we were so busy, it was 6 days a week and all that stuff, but it was enjoyable. So why don't I introduce one new thing in every project? And it was actually interesting because for that one thing, that kept me really excited about that project and how it will be taken. So this is my suggestion to you: whatever you do, try to insert one new thing that your mind will actually find some creative juices in. And but the other thing was that from life sciences to automotive to consumer goods, there were so many projects there at Lumium, and very interesting projects. So we would read patents, and it gave me very good insights into licensing deals and patents, talking to American inventors in Oklahoma or New Jersey. So I think it was very good, very interesting experience, 360-degree experience. Then Lumium started with their B2B business, and I was made in charge of a project for Eureka Forbes, the first corporate project that they had taken because of my background with filtration. So it was again interesting. This was the first time actually we sketched on Wacom tablets, and personally me. And I was not a sketcher. I was not very good at sketching back then. If I show you sketches that I do now or during Samsung, you won't say that it's the same guy doing this, right? But but again, as I said, that I was good with SolidWorks, so it kind of compensated for that, right? So now, in terms of the journey of a designer, I got my so-called first break when I joined Samsung Global Design Center. It's called Samsung Design Delhi. It's part of 6 global design centers that are working on mobile phones, and so there's industrial design, UX, and a lot of communication strategy and packaging and all that stuff. So I was selected as part of the initial team that formed the industrial designers. There's like 3 people: me, Manish Chaudhary, and Abhishek Majumdar. And so I cannot share a lot of things from there because again there's a sea of secrecy there. But we started something really, really interesting, and because I was very interested in data and how data leads to decisions. So we started proactively this project wherein you'll see that every single dot here that you see was a mobile phone that was released in that particular quarter. So we mapped all of the mobile phones that were released, and in 2 years, and color coded them with, say, Nokia for blue, Samsung for light blue, Sony Ericsson was there, LG, Micromax had just started. So it gave us some real good insights to share with the HQ, and also to kind of drive our own initiatives, right? To spot trends, local trends, global trends, because one of the main reasons for setting up STD or Samsung Design Delhi, it's in Noida basically, was around design localization, wherein global values of a brand should be replicated locally. So global products for local markets and local sensitivity. So that was the main theme. So this is one of the projects that me and Manish, we are very proud of. So this is the first project that actually came from SDD and what was launched in the market. So 4 years ago, this was selling. This had already sold 500,000 units, and I'm sure they're more selling as the day goes. But again, this was a very interesting phase in my life personally, because interacting with European designers, with Korean designers, and so coming to this, you see mobile phone every day, you use it, you just throw it like this. But when you are designing a phone physically, then you understand that's a very complicated product, because 0.1 makes a difference, right? Your shut lines and all that stuff, right? So we were designing 3x4 key, those press key phones, right? We call them 3x4. So the side view, the top view, like it's like a graphic design exercise, but it's like transposed on a 3D form. So it's not easy. You don't start with a 3D model there. So, for 2.5 years, I did not touch SolidWorks, right? And there's this guy who was known for, so in fact, in my IIT Delhi days, that was the only subject or course that I scored an A for, right? So, but it was a great learning, moving back to sketching, even no Vacoms allowed. But it was great that we used to sketch for 7 hours a day and all that stuff. And then we would take it to modeling finally, and to SLS prototyping and all that stuff. But again, respect for a product, that's very important. Okay, let me just sip. Okay, glass of water. So now this is the first big challenge that I think I took in my career, was that, I think this was the best job, being a Samsung designer. I used to spend around 2-3 months in Korea with the team and all that stuff. So we had amazing visibility. Samsung was doing very well back then, but then I made a constant, a conscious shift to business innovation when I joined MTS. So they were starting the innovation team in their marketing function. So it was supposed to be an interdisciplinary team with a fashion retailer. There was a lawyer in the team from ISP. There was an ethnographer, an IP expert, intellectual property patent expert, retail expert, and all that stuff. So I was one of the leads in the team. But the challenge was interesting because there was this telecom market. MTS was the 13th player in the market, like in terms of entry, and of course they were catering to a particular segment. And so we got trained by a Swiss idea factory called Brainstore, which was interesting. And this was the first time I moved out of design as a field and saw the culture of innovation shaping up in a big corporate. It's a Russian company, so they're big in Russia, but they were smaller in India, of course. But again, one of the key roles that the team had was to foster a culture of innovation. So I played a big role in this because of my background with design thinking and the way I thought or viewed projects around. I was the only designer in the company, so I think it really helped. But again, as a designer, that's what I told you, that you'll be opening some folders that you can never shut down in life. So you approach problems very differently. Like you commit everything to paper. You spread everything spatially. You make like you take a white wall and you place the things at the right location and all that stuff. So make all those arrows. So it's very, very interesting the way designers consume your information and then they articulate. So it was very interesting for them also to see that this was the first time that somebody had come with a design background and was able to map their customer journey right from awareness to retention phase, right? So good exercises around creating all these touch points. Of course, the focus was marketing. They were not too much into design themselves. They used to use Chinese mobile phone vendors. But then, I facilitated a lot of co-creation workshops and design thinking workshops, trying to get into the skin of the customers and our end users. And then one of the products that I actually had conceptualized, it got very popular, and there were some other manufacturers in China. They took the idea and they created it. It was basically, your bag. You should have a smart bag in which your laptop bag should be able to give you Wi-Fi signal, and because you always do that, like you have your laptop in your bag, and then when you're using laptop in a coffee shop, you keep the bag next to you. So basically, you're combining a battery bank with a Wi-Fi dongle. So I still have all these initial sketches. I should have got it patented internationally. But anyways, this is how life works. But again, I was very key to making their MTS's smartphone strategy, and again, making use of skills gained at Samsung. So this is your career is a cross pollination of skills. So one skill that you learn somewhere, you apply somewhere else, and then from the design keywords to how design moves to the next step where I learned Adobe Illustrator. Like these are all Illustrator models. These are not 3D models, but everything is in 2D. But this is a key skill I picked up at Samsung, so I applied here. So it's all about just like a caterpillar, you keep moving, right? Yeah, so a lot of stuff around tablet concepts and trying to focus on global aesthetics and taking them back here. But now the key learning for me personally at Samsung was that I developed a very huge respect for how the business is run, because I met some people there, like my immediate managers and all, who were completely opposite to what I was. I was right brained, they were left brained, and so but strategy, data analytics. So these guys are sharp guys. But before, like when until Samsung, I was more into I was in my own design cocoon, so to say, and there was no way I could have interacted with them. But so I started working on Excel, and then this is a very interesting shot that I captured here. So I started thinking about MBA and started taking the GMAT GRE. So this is a short from Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth, which kind of somehow it stuck with me. And there's this guy, he's working on his laptop. I'm sure he's finishing some assignment, but there's no outside. So this became my pole star for the next 2-3 years, and I wanted to do something about it. So this is one of the others, I would say, until now, the last risk that I took. So I went for a global MBA. So I went to Cornell, Cornell University's Johnson Business School, and they, I mean, it was not easy. It's an Ivy League school, difficult to get in, and of course, a lot of stuff. But being an international, non-traditional candidate, and of course a huge loan, it was not easy. It was a stressful period in my time, in my life. But again, I always feel that okay, you can be a good student, you can be the best student, but it's better to be a good student and focus on things that really matter to you. So I was a very idea oriented guy. So I went ahead with a professor of material science at Cornell, and I basically went for a patent for so basically it's a sleeve that sanitizes your credit card. I should have taken this project ahead, because in this COVID period this would have found a lot of utility, right? Then I won a competition, a national competition around it was called Launch Your Idea. So there was this yoga mat that I had designed, which had you could record all the sounds, like, because in yoga studios in the US at least, they don't allow you to take your mobile phone in, and you cannot record what's happening and all that stuff. So it was like $7 solution for something that could be interesting. So it was like it won the challenge and all that stuff. But then now this is where I end my Cornell thing, and then we'll move to Dassault Systems. But the key learning at Cornell was you as a person are responsible for positioning you and yourself in the job market, right? And you are as good as your plan C. Know where you're going. If you don't know, just pretend where you're going, right? It's fine. But the most important thing is you have to network vertically and horizontally. So my design connections back from Samsung, MTS, and say Lumium, they actually, I took their help, asked for help. Like I still remember from Samsung, we had Amitoj Singh. I hope he's tuned in. So I used to call him every third day or every second week. So Manish was a big help, and so were our seniors in the US, in India, and like it was like a group project for everybody. But again, knowing where I was, I think self-awareness is very important. So this is something very interesting I did. Like this is Excel sheet. I made an Excel sheet of every single project I had done in my life up to that point. And I estimated the number of hours I would have put, the skill that would have gone into it, and basically so I was a quant guy, like quantitative also. So I came up with this chart, which actually became one of the pages in my portfolio. And wherever I would go for a recruiter, or whether it was a remote interview, I would take them through this journey, saying that, see, if you look at my skills right now, so these skills developed like this. So, product design, when I was at Pentair and all that stuff. So, but then now it has gone down. But what has happened is that business skills have taken over. So I started a company, an app company in Cornell in that 1 year. So there were connections to new ventures, and we started a company called Design for Yoga back in the day. And so my business skills were improving, and some design skills were going down. But it gave a very good picture that through consistent efforts and very consciously, not by serendipity, I was moving from design to business. So it got the point across. Now, my current job, and we'll end with this, I'll be very fast, I'm being conscious of the time, is with Dassault Systems, where I'm managing the North American part of the accelerator program or innovation. But before I jump into that, I'll tell you one key learning here is, again, when I told you about human to human network, that is the most important thing you can do as a student, because I always believe the valley is small, okay, and you are connected through that 6 degrees of separation. You will bump into the same kind of people time and again, right? And if you make good connections while you're going up, people will make sure that you don't go down. So this is I have so many. I can spend 2 hours telling you stories about this. But one quick story. The first day I joined my current job. So one of my colleagues and senior director of education at SolidWorks, she came to welcome me, and within 5 minutes we were able to figure out that 13 years ago, when I was a student at IIT, she had come for a visit, and I had welcomed her or something like that, and she knew Professor Das and some of my professors. So you never know. Life works in circles. So always try to do things, and be active as a student. And again, from Cornell University, I got a referral for this job, and things like those. Okay. Uh, so in my current job, as I said, I manage innovation, which means that I manage two main chunks of users. So one is our startup program. We have amazing startups, who are solving really tough problems using our solutions, whether CATIA, SolidWorks, Simulate, and all that stuff. But then makers, which are like digital fab labs. There are 2,000 of them, maker spaces, fab labs across the world, and SolidWorks and Dassault Systems. We give everybody in these fab labs free software so that they can be more creative. And I'm also responsible for launching one fab lab in some remote corner with MIT. So this is me with Professor Gershenfeld. This is me with a colleague, and we went to the southernmost city of the world called Porto Williams in Chile, and we opened a lab there. Right after that, it is just Antarctica. So I've been really lucky to do all these travels and make a difference in the community. So which is very interesting. So I manage this lab here, like physically, and then there are other rooms also. But one of the first projects was that we were assembling a huge aircraft in the lab. And then what you see here, it's basically, there's a project called Magic Wheelchair, which is for children in wheelchair. We create these epic costumes for them, utilizing all the workflows in the lab, from 3D printing to CNC milling, CNC routing, and all that. And this is all done in foam and of course with electronics. And this is all our employees doing this, so it's amazing, like what people can do. About the company, it's a huge company. We have like 20,000 people there. I'm talking about Dassault Systems, but we've been driving top-down innovation because it's easy, right? You give the right tools to people. You put them in a box in a room, give free pizza and all that stuff. So they'll definitely do innovation. Like our company has been innovating in from 3D design to digital mock-ups and product life cycle management, PLM solutions. But now we are on the cloud nearly completely, and we have the best players of each industry. Every industry we are in 11. You'll see that from Tesla to Doosan, to Samsung, Fujitsu, P&G, and of course Boeing, Airbus. Like these are all our customers, either from CATIA or SolidWorks or simulation side. But so these are our softwares, which is CATIA, SolidWorks. CATIA is for high-end modeling, and all the cars and aircrafts are done on that. GeoVia is for land use. BioVia is for molecular modeling. Then simulation, high-end simulation, and all that stuff. So design, styling, construction, engineering, systems engineering. So whatever human mind can conceive or touch, so we have a solution for that, right? And our simulation is like multi-physics, multi-body, and from micro nano scale, where you don't see the continuum, to all the way to the functional parts of materials and all that stuff. So stretching from solids and structures to thermal to geophysics, like we have it all. And then like PLM, I think this might be a bit complex for you, but anyways, so the lab is focused on bottoms up innovation, which means that we work with all our partners from MIT to, now we just signed with UC Berkeley, a partnership contract, to HEC in Paris, Founders Factory. So these are the hubs of innovation of startups. So we work with them because, in our program, we select these startups. We have super selected out of 600 companies that have applied, only 27 are in, but to them we give free access to our software for 2 years with mentoring, because you cannot learn these softwares looking at YouTube videos, right? And then we take them to CES, Viva Tech, and all these big shows, because for a startup, the most important thing is one connection with an investor or their potential customer. So that's everything for a startup. So we facilitate that, and you'll see that The kind of companies we are looking at are, and I'll just forward this video. It's basically, you know, there's no sound because I just did it, but there are solar drones. There's this company that's launching small satellites in the orbit using helium balloons. There's robotics companies. There's Leka, it's a toy robot for children with autism. There's this company which is like the first 3D printed concrete robot. There are drones. There are a lot of interesting. There's a company called Eel Energy. They are making huge membranes, placing them underwater to generate electricity. There's this Living Heart project. We have digitized the entire human body, because that's the purpose, like from things to life, modular cars and all that stuff, right? And finally, as I told you that I open one lab every year. So the first one, it was in Bhutan, was in Rwanda. Second one was in Bhutan. This was in Chile, and next one will be in Nepal. And I'll end with this, I think. But these are some of the projects that we do in the lab for makers. So this is Magic Wheelchair Part 2 for a kid called Ben, who's in a wheelchair, and he has a smooth brain, which means that he won't be he does not process some of the mental faculties or some of the reactions that we are so privileged as humans to do. But we presented this to him, gifted this to him. This was for another kid. This was the aircraft that I was mentioning. So like this was a work in progress. One of my interns actually made a rocket in the lab, and she launched it to 2,300 feet. So we do a lot of interesting stuff, and I know the time is short, so I want to leave some time for questions and answers. Yeah, I think we have 13, 40 minutes. Right, Umesh?
Wow, fantastic, Abhishek. That is really, really incredible. Amazing journey and amazing work that you are doing right now. It's really
Yeah, thank
excited
you.
to see that, right? Um, I mean, there's so much that you're doing. So I literally am trying to get everything together in my brain. I mean, there's so much of
Yeah,
work.
even I'm sweating, right?
Right.
Even I'm sweating. Okay.
Right. So nice, nice. So you help these startups to innovate, and you are there through the entire journey, and you also help them find an investor and invest in their company, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
basic
Yeah.
role. All right.
Yeah. So main focus is on technical mentorship.
Now,
Umesh, because these are the companies, like one of the companies called CellLink. They are 3D printing human organs. So for them, the most important thing is that using our simulation solutions, how can they make their project, or say they can optimize their work cycles, right? Because these are the companies who are solving tough problems, and we try to align them with the UN SDGs. So so we are not interested in the next Tinder or next e-cigarette, which is good looking. We don't invest in the companies. We don't take any percentage from the company. So we are interested in helping them solve those technical problems through our software. Yeah.
nice, nice. And what are the challenges that you face while running this lab?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so
So
ultimately the lab should earn money, should make money. So how do you make money? How do you guys make money?
yeah, that's a good question. And this is one of the questions that get asked very frequently. So the thing is that the see, what we do is, for 2 years we give the software solutions, we give mentoring to these startups, although we are so selective, like just 27 of them in the past 4 years. But then we know that once these guys solve this problem, and if we are able to help them with our mentoring, taking them to all these big clients and all that stuff, then right now we are giving them all these solutions, say 27 roles, everything is on the cloud, is role based, for free. But then after 2 years, after 3 years, these 3 4 roles will become 27, because then they'll employ more people, then they'll become our customers. So it's
Okay.
like that. But then we also get a lot of good stories. We get innovative solutions. It also challenges our solutions. For example, one of the startups, they were actually trying to simulate the human foot. Now human foot is a
Mm,
complex thing, right? And you
mm.
cannot do it in SolidWorks or CATIA just like that. So through that, we found that in one of our solutions, this was missing, how to simulate ligaments, right? So it helps us also, and we always try to eat our dog food.
Right, right. So pretty cool. So Going back 13 years, so when we were in IIT, have you ever thought that you'll be doing something like this in the future?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So, what I feel is that more so in case of designers or design students, we always think in terms of pictures. So I remember back in the day, Core 77, even now Core
Yes.
77 design boom, I would have all those pictures of amazing labs, and MIT Media Lab was one of my favorites. So I didn't have a chance to go and study there, but now I'm a partner there. So, which means that we work with them very
Oh,
closely.
very
I go
okay.
there, and it's actually I can see from my house also. But anyways, the thing is that those vision boards are very important for a designer. Whatever you say when you give all those vision boards a form and you work towards it, it might not be a direct way. If it's direct, it's amazing. Whatever you want, you just apply there. Even if you don't get, that's fine. I remember in IIT, I was like, I didn't have any skills, to be very honest. Like, I was like still learning a lot of stuff. But then, nothing stopped me from applying to Boeing for an internship. I did that. They never replied, but that's fine. Doesn't matter, right? It's all about, as a student, you have a lot of power. You can make mistakes, right? Which as a
True.
professional, you cannot, right? So I suggest everybody should do that.
Right, right. And and I was really amazed that you remember that little incident that we had. Okay, and thank you so much for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Uh, and cool. So from this e-meet onwards, what we wanted to do is to give spotlight on one of the DQ students, right? So because these students are doing fantastic work, and I feel that they should be recognized, and they should also get an opportunity to showcase their work to other students and all the participants that are coming over here, right? So now for this e-meet, all right, so we have nominated Ahona Mukherjee. All right, so we are going to give her a little time to showcase her work and share her experience. All right, and also probably their parents can also share certain aspects in terms of, from a parent perspective, how they have supported her to follow through her hobby. All right, so let me invite Ahona. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hey, Ahona.
Hi.
Hi.
Start the video as well.
Yes, 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 yes. So this is Ahona, and
Hi everyone.
she is just finishing. She has finished her 12th. I guess her result is out.
Yeah.
Right.
Finally through it.
Yes, yes. So before I share, okay, I'd like to share one of the works that she has done. Okay, so we had met some 5 years back. Okay, 5 years ago, and as part of the design exploration program, Ahona, you remember this sketch?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So we had this program. We still have this program where we give exposure to the students in terms of various careers that are available in terms of creative careers like architecture, fashion, design, and they kind of ideate and they kind of put down their ideas, right? So here you can see a little sketch of what Ahona has conceptualized on this white background here, little sketch. And because, yes, because at that particular time they will have limitation in terms of expressing their own ideas. So what we do is we give this out to our either designer or an illustrator, and we ask them to illustrate the work. So this work was done when she was in her ninth grade or finishing ninth grade, I believe.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I think that is how her journey has started. Okay, so and in fact, this is one of my favorite works, Ahona.
Thank
Ajit
you.
Singh. So it's a restaurant setup, I think, which is very relevant in nowadays. All
Ex-
right, yeah. So you have these transparent cubicles, and there is a transparent cylindrical lift where the the
Performer.
performer is placed, and he'll move up and down. And here in this case, it is Ajit Singh, right?
Uh-huh.
And the performer, the diners can actually see the performer performing it, being in an isolated places, right? So amazing work, Ahona. So I will give you the option of sharing your screen. Can you showcase your awesome work? And yeah, please explain your journey.
All right. So I just This is such an honor, really, and I'll just start a little bit about myself. There isn't really much to tell yet. So my name is Ahona. I just finished class 12 few weeks ago, and I'm 18 years old. I started taking classes in DQ Jayanagar from when I was in 8th, 9th, that summer vacation, and that was in 2015. And I've been there for 5 years, and it's been such a long time. And I appeared for NID and UC, and I wrote both the exams. And thanks to DQ, I did pretty well. But we are waiting for NID second round results, and I thought it would be interesting because for me to show you what I mainly do. So I'm a miniaturist, which means I make sculptures with clay. So I'll show you my Instagram page, which is where I curate all my works. So let's go.
Can you see the option of sharing your screen?
Yes, host. Host has disabled. Sir, can you just check for 1 minute?
All right.
Yeah.
1 minute. Let me just check. Yeah, you should have the option now.
Yeah, perfect. So here we are. So this is my Instagram page where I curate my stuff. So I make miniature food with polymer clay. So this is one of my absolute favorites. I did this in the lockdown. So as you can see,
Yes, great detailing.
so this is with clay, and there's a wooden board. So for example, this one did a bit of a woodwork here, and I've been exploring with a lot of then this is another thing I really enjoyed making. It's a toy stand because I was exploring a lot of my childhood aspects. So I have this from this series, and I have this one, which I'm really fond of as well. So this is a hobby I have been actively pursuing from 2015. And that is also when I started DQ, but I've always been playing, so that's there. And I'm going to pursue graphic designing in college, which is interesting because people are like, I make 3D stuff, and it's different from the 2D career I'm seeming to pursue. But I also enjoy sketching, which is also there. So it shouldn't be overdone with this. And I also thought maybe it would be interesting for me to show you my portfolio. So
Yeah, sure. And Ahona also does commission work. Can you just show a couple of commission works, Ahona?
Oh, right. So recently I've started working on a few commissions. I've been given the chance to make things for beautiful people. So I made this one for a friend, not my friend, for someone's friend, and she is a traveler, and a photographer. She likes tea. She has gone around the world. So she's an artist. So I've tried to capture everything here. And this one has been a commission as well, with for a book lover, and this was for a mother. As you can see over here, it says "Happy Birthday, Mom." And then this one I made for brown paper bags, Sailesh Gopalan. I'm pretty sure many of you know him, so I was really happy to make him a model as well. Yeah, this one was very interesting as well. It's a family who is to spend a lot of time in CCD, but recently because of lockdown, they haven't been able to spend as much. So they asked me to make a model of them having some time in with their favorite teas of choice. We have green tea, black tea, and cappuccinos.
Pretty cool. So I request everyone to follow her on Instagram. Can you just fill out your Instagram handle?
Right. So it's meraki.ahona. And I've also mentioned what is Meraki. It's a word I'm really fond of, and I think it explains why I do what I do. So that is my page. And
Awesome.
I'm also working on getting a online shop done, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that when we get to that.
Awesome. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So would you like to quickly go through your portfolio?
Yes.
1 minute. Yeah.
Yep. So this is my portfolio. I submitted to most of my applications. So I did a self-branding. I had this for school project, a few of my miniatures. Made a house. I did a few graphic designs.
Can't see your work.
It's not here?
It's showing your browser.
Okay, hold
I
on.
think you have to share your entire screen.
Resume share. Can you see it?
We can still see the Instagram page.
Okay, hold on. New share. Ah, yeah, got it. Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
No, no, not it.
Not yet. It should be. You should be able to resume share.
Oh yeah, now
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So, quick run through my portfolio, which I submitted to most of my design college. Self branding. I did this for school. It's with paper. A few of my miniatures, a small house I made, few graphic designs, graphics. This one was a recreation of a relic, which I coincidentally ran into in Rome on a vacation. It's down there. A few travel sketches, oil paintings, watercolors, costume designing, a few more. This is acrylic. This one I showed you. I made a scrapbook for my travels. Another, I drew my friends. Oh, and this is from a Satyajit Ray movie, and I
Mhm.
was also able to show this and share this with his Satyajit Ray's son, which was very interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that went a lot because I'm really fond of this movie and I really looked up to Satyajit Ray as a hero.
Mm.
And few of this, I did a branding for Maya Kids and I made a short film once, and that's about it.
Okay. Awesome. So, couple of quick questions.
Right.
Okay. So, when did your journey start with DQ?
2015, I finished 8th, I was about to start 9th. It was the summer vacation and we started with DP
Right.
and yeah, it was wonderful.
Right. Awesome. And how was your experience?
Brilliant. Like I was talking to Sean sir the other day that after I finished my NID round 2, I was almost like, oh no, the direct association with DQ is over because I finished my exams. But Sean sir was like, yeah, but you'll always keep coming back, and that's true. I'll always keep coming back.
Right. Right. Great. And how did you manage your time in the last 2 years, preparing for 12th grade, attending DQ labs, and also working on your hobby?
Okay, so last 2 years I took humanities. It was a decision I took so I could spend a lot of time on my interest. And I think if you're genuinely interested in something, you always end up making time for it. So while I had to be pushed to study a bit, I didn't do bad in my boards though. I had to be pushed to study a bit by my parents. I always had time for DQ and for making things. So it keeps falling in place if it really means so much to you.
Okay. Cool. And I'm sure when you're exploring to have a mentor, you would have had many options. So why did you choose DQ Labs among all of them?
So I actually heard about DQ Labs from our school career counselor. So we were talking to her in 8th. It was a bit sooner. We have a career meet in 10th, which DQ comes. But I started out a bit early. So I was talking to her and she gave us the booklet and of DQ and a few other colleges. And we went a few other training centers and we went around. But DQ was one which clicked really. And also there was a branch really close to us because there aren't many near Jayanagar. So the fact that it's spread over, and a lot of my friends were joining DQ, so it seemed absolutely perfect, and I'm so glad I made that decision.
Cool, great, awesome. Um, your parents are there? Would like to ask
Yeah,
questions?
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? Baba, Dako. Yeah, they'll be here in a minute.
Right, right. So what are your future plans? In fact, there is a question from the audience.
Right.
I think it is Omisha. Let me just check. Yeah, Omisha Isha. Ahona, how did you decide what field you wanted to pursue in design? What was your thought process?
Okay, so one thing I thought is I can make models out of 3D quite conveniently. It works well with me. Once I have clay on my hands, I can get things done. But
Mhm.
I really wanted to perfect my 2D visualization skills. I really, look up to people who can do that. It's very fascinating to me, probably because it doesn't come so naturally to me, and that's why I thought maybe I should differentiate between a hobby and a career. Because if a hobby becomes your career, it means you may have to put playing for me is a meditative process. I don't want it to be uh, so forced. So I thought I'll let it be as a hobby and I'll take up something I really am fascinated by because I'm not naturally good at it.
Okay, so you wanted to learn a new skill
Yes.
and also apply it. right? Great. All right.
It will be an interesting challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll call my parents now.
Yes. Yes.
So my dad is here, so he'll be happy to answer a few questions.
Hello, sir. Good
Hello,
evening.
how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, going on.
All right. Great. Awesome. Hello, madam.
Hello.
Yeah. Great. So I have three specific questions. Okay. These questions are framed to answer uh, the questions of some parents, so because their children would have been going through this journey and they would like to understand how to manage certain things. Okay. So first question is, okay, how and when did you see the potential in Ahona?
Yeah, so in some sense, I would say all kids growing up stage they show some inclination towards art. Different
Right.
form, like
Right.
painting, drawing, sketching, something or the other. So Ahona also showed that, and we put her into some of these painting classes, etc. That was standard, and that time we didn't think that she is anything other than the kids doing standard stuff.
Hmm.
Maybe at a little later stage, she was getting more into modeling, creating objects, with clay. Then, all this, you would have seen some of this aluminum foil comes as a wrapper, right?
Hmm.
So she was picking that up and trying to give it some very abstract shape. So that sounded little different compared to what kids, or for that matter, when we were growing up, we also did a lot of sketching, but we never got into modeling. And by seventh, eighth, she was doing a lot of other things. For example, she was conducting some quiz kind of programs in the team, in the sense she will form questions, and she'll come up with some trophy, handmade trophy, etc. So that
Hmm.
sounded little, you know, I wouldn't call out of box, but looked like she liked to work on projects. It is not like one sketch. It is more
Hmm.
like, how to put my ideas, many things together. And so that is where we thought, maybe she needs little more grooming. And we also put her in a lot of offbeat courses. For example, we did actually, she did not go through a lot of traditional drawing, sketching kind of courses. No,
Hmm. Hmm.
she used to do a lot of pottery, by the way. Whenever we
Yeah.
got a chance, roadside we are going or go to some resort, she used to actually literally get her hand dirty.
No,
So that,
I saw a pottery wheel. I had to stop and do it.
yeah, so
Okay.
that happened. In fact, the DQ labs to some extent also, we exposed her to a lot of offbeat kind of things, that,
Hmm.
yeah, like, I don't know whether that answered your question.
Right. So when did you like kind of crystallized that yes, she needs to pursue this kind of a career?
Okay, so the first difficult decision was, to accept that she will not become an engineer or doctor. Okay, so
Great.
that I think happened by the time she was in 10th. We knew that is not the direction she's going
Okay.
to take.
Okay.
Even though initially she told that, I can, okay, it is okay to be a doctor. It continued like that for a few months. Then she told, no doctor, but I am okay to get into science. After that, she told that no science also. So eventually by 10th, we knew that she's not getting into that kind of career. After that, yeah, this sounded good. I mean, we also did not know much about art and design oriented
Right.
career. So
Right.
that way, DQ Labs actually guided us a lot. They told that yes, because the traditional wisdom, traditional thought process is all these are okay for a hobby, but you
Hmm.
cannot make a career out of that.
Right.
That is why that sort of many parents move away from that, thinking that end of the day, how do you earn for yourself?
Correct.
So that way, some confidence came that after all, you can earn, you can still pursue your passion and pay for your bills. So that I think happened around 10th. And after that, once we made up our mind, we thought that let us go full steam in whatever is the best option for her.
Okay. Great. So, what changes you had to make in her life to accommodate her studies and passion? Because 11th and 12th generally it is a bit more intense, right? So, how did you balance it out for Ahona?
Okay, so I think she was quite mature by the time it was in 11th, and she, I mean, I knew that if she sees her courses dropping down, she will naturally change gears. We did not have to sort of push her much. At the moment, I mean, I knew that if the scores drop beyond 11, I mean, she did not aspire to be among the topper. You know, she did not have that, but she always wanted to have a respectable score. Okay, so long as that kept happening, you know, honestly, last 2 years we didn't have to push. In fact, some cases we actually had to, you know, counsel her saying that it is okay, don't worry about the score, because most of the colleges in Bangalore and for that matter in India also, there is at least 10 to 15% difference in marks happens between board and school. Right. So, you know, we were telling her that so long as you are like 70, 75% in your school, you be comfortable, spend enough time. What we did not want, you know, that I have seen with many people, many of my close friends, it's, you know, 11th, 12th is a time where all these hobbies, all these passions die because so much focus gets into education, into your study. And once they die, you cannot revive. You know, once it is gone, you lose the passion. It never comes back. So that way, we are very particular that we would not let her drop it, even if it takes little bit of a hit on the scores. We were okay with her. So thankfully, that didn't happen much. She was able to manage both, and you know, generally her scores have been okay.
No, I think it's important not to set your mind on being one of the absolute toppers of your class, because a designing curriculum is very different from a normal coaching curriculum. So people who attend, say, NEET coaching, they are already covering a few of their school curriculum in the coaching center. So designing is very different from that, and it is not overlapping. So once you break that mental block that it's okay if I'm not the school topper, it helps a lot, even on the strain or the mental health situation.
Absolutely. And anyway, the 12th marks are not relevant for the admission into any of these design schools. So too much of focus on that is not great anyway. So I really appreciate the way you have picked up your skills in the last 2 years, Ahona. Right? This is really amazing. And one small question to ma'am. All right. So at any given point of time, have you felt that, okay, what if my child cannot get into a design school? What is the second option? Have you ever felt like that? Okay.
No, not really. I think what I thought to say one or other school you will always get into. She will get,
Right.
the help of CDQ lab and all. I have really faith that she will get it.
Right. Awesome.
One or other college she will get.
She'll get through. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Ahona, you have been an amazing DQ student now and alum. All right. So be in touch. And it's the journey doesn't, I mean, our interactions would not stop here. They will go in further as well. So now we have this design quotient industry e-meets where you can still be in touch with us. Okay. Be part of this kind of a tribe that we are trying to build. All right. Okay. So, any last words would you like to tell? Any last message or anything like that would you like to say, Ahona? Or
to the next batch.
Oh, to the next batch. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So I think what the next batch, one thing they should do is enjoy what you do. That's one thing I did, because a lot of my juniors have been asking me, how much time did you spend? How much did you study? How many books did you read? It's not about that. It's how much, if you force yourself to study, it really doesn't percolate, and in the end it doesn't come out. And if you're doing it for the sake of doing it, it doesn't come work out in the end, because this year NIT everything changed. The portions changed, the weightage changed. So you have to just go with the flow, and sometimes some people find it hard to accept. I find it hard to accept not to be in control of situations, but that's one thing you need to learn, and just enjoy what you do. It really helps, and it makes all the difference in the world.
All right, amazing. Please do follow her on Instagram, and if possible, get some commissioned work from her.
That'd be great.
Ahona, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How long did you take to do the jackfruit thing? With the...
Jackfruit. I think I took 3 days of continuous work.
So that's a lot of effort.
You have to roll out each of the spines, glue it, and the clay is bakeable, so you have to bake after every 1/3 of the jackfruit, so you don't squish half of the spines, because I did, and then I had to redo it, and that was sad.
Yeah, I saw the spines, and I guessed as much. It took a really long time. Yeah. Amazing work. I mean, your
It's
work
very
is,
meditative. It calms you down.
yeah. Anyway,
Cool
okay.
work, Ahuna. All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go back to the question and answers of Abhishek Bali. Here comes the first question from Amitoj Singh. All right. So, guys, seniors are watching us. All right.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay. So, Amitoj is asking, how are startups in US think differently in COVID era? Do you see any change in thinking among innovators and entrepreneurs there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, in fact, one of the things we had done in the lab was we created an online community called Open COVID Community, wherein any maker or any startups could come there. So, what I've seen is that uh, like usually startups in the hardware domain are very secretive about what they're working on.
Mhm.
Like even if you go to accelerators, incubators, like physical spaces, they won't allow you to take pictures and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
what I've seen increasingly, thanks to this COVID era, I mean, it's the only thing that you need to be thankful about in this era, is that people have become more collaborative. They have opened out, and this is one thing that I've seen in at least two startups that we work with, or which were relevant. So with one of the startups, actually, like we looked at what new startups are coming up which are more relevant to this. One of them is actually making blood,
Mhm.
and they're making the device using SolidWorks. They're based out of Canada in a place called Kitchener. So when I talked to them, so I could sense the difference between then and now. There's more urgency.
Mhm.
They know they can make a difference. I think that's a big one, because
Mhm.
otherwise, they were being in the accelerator for in some other accelerator for 1.5 2 years, but now suddenly they think that the pandemic is there. There's a way. I mean, there's a great opportunity to make a difference and make business. So
Mhm.
it has actually, I think it would have reduced the time to market for most of the startups by 2 to 3 months. Everybody is on their best game right now, so they are strategy switching. A lot of supply chains that was, or say value chain, that had China as its main component or nucleus, they are shifting back locally. So there's a huge thing called reshoring, which is basically coming, bringing all of your manufacturing for fabrication and everything within the US, right? So these are some of the things that I've seen, but more collaborative, more open is definitely one of them.
Great. Shriti Gopalan is asking, how was the transition from design aspect of your career to the business aspect?
Yeah, it was tough. Like there were two transitions actually. The first one was, Samsung was a big company. I mean, of course, it's bigger now, but like even the size of the chairs or tables, the colors and everything got miniaturized. It was like, I mean, like it was just like from business class you come to general in a train. But then again, the thing is that it took me a while, maybe 3 4 months. I mean, I'll be very honest. At some point in time, I was thinking, why did I make this shift? Like, but somehow, what I feel is that you can always trick your mind. It's all about you making taking the right decision, and then tricking your mind to believing it is the right thing. There are some tough decisions you have to take. But I became clearer and clearer that I need to extend design into business. I think that was one of my main goals, given the experience I got from Pentair. You know, locating design within the entire value chain of products and systems and services. I think that quest made it easy for me. Otherwise, yes, it would have been really different, because I was very good at design. Working in a very big company, and I could have gone to a better design company, like a better position in a smaller design company or maybe some other corporate. But yes, so yeah, it kind of worked out for me, or I made it work somehow. Yeah.
Right, cool. Arushi Kakkar is asking, is engineering integral or is it better for design?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question. So, as I said, design is a very broad field. So, if you are looking at entering a company like Bombardier or say SpaceX or Tesla, right?
Mhm.
Even in a design role, so for them, design is systems engineering. Design is more about mechanical aspect. Even at Apple, to be very honest, if you look at
Yes.
Apple's positions for industrial designers or product designers, they want you to have a good mechanical background, and you should be great at CMF, like color, material, finishes, and fitments, and you have to be a material scientist at heart, with an engineering mind, with a designer hand, and all that stuff. But then that's one niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are other opportunities. There are amazing companies that work at the intersection of art and design, architecture and design. uh, Idea, for example, one of the better known design consulting companies. They recruit designers from all of the background, like even ethnography plus design is amazing. Psychology is coming up in a big way. If you have a background in psychology and then you go for masters or graduation in design, then UX is open for you. So I think the beauty of design is that it's broad. And if you and you given the fact that so for example, DQ Labs is there, then MOOCs are there, Coursera, edX, and all that stuff. Nothing stops you from learning new skills and making a good concoction. It's like the canvas is your life is your canvas, and you have so many colors to choose from. So I'm very optimistic that even though that only engineering is not it was a thing of the past. Maybe 15 years ago it would have been really applicable, but now everything has opened up and there are new meta fields.
Right. Okay. So since you mentioned the architecture, the relevance between architecture and design, there's a question from Chaitanya Deshpande. So he's asking, how is construction design different from architectural design?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. So one of the things that is coming up in a big way is, and you should search on this, is called X generative design. It's called generative design basically. So wherein what you're doing is that using software and simulation, if you give end conditions to a structural member, so it will calculate all the loads and all the your dynamic static loads, and even your seismic factors and everything, and it will generate a shape. The software does that. So there's a lot of artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning that goes into it. And so our like at Dassault Systems, there are engineers in our company, like from at Katia and SolidWorks. They're coming up with it. It's called X generative design, or design guidance is another name. But that is one trend that will actually grow up, wherein as a structural designer or as an architect, given the loads, you can you can just toggle between, okay, if this is possible or this is not possible, right? Even as a mechanical engineer versus a designer, because initially what happens is what used to happen was that as a designer, or you design something which looks good, but when it goes to the mechanical engineer or product detailer's desk, he would say, what is this? This is not possible. There are undercuts in the mold and all that. You didn't consider this. But now the direction of the company, like our company and even competitors, is everything is on cloud, connected, and collaborative. So using the same data model, you can a designer can work and ideate. The same data model doesn't need to be changed in terms of its file format and all that stuff. The same data model can be worked on by the mechanical engineer or product detailer, and then go to fabrication. And same is being applied in construction also, right?
Right. Aditya Sriram is asking, what are the essential steps for starting up a company, and how do you make sure you're in the top of the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we assess companies, of course, let me take a step back. Let me not say we as in the Dassault Systèmes 3D Experience Lab, but I work with Techstars, which is one of the better, or one of the biggest names in accelerators, incubators. Then there's UC, like University of California, Berkeley, MIT Engine, YC, like YC Combinator, and all that stuff. So when we all look for companies, we are looking at essentially 3-4 main things. So the first one is, of course, your idea. The space in which that idea is should be one part of it should be novel. Either the idea or the space is new or something like that, right? The second thing, and the most important thing, is, do you have a team? Do you have people on your team who have complementary skill sets? I have examples of companies the moment they enter the door, you come to know that this company, although they have a great idea, but the team is not good, this won't last. And I have like 80% of time it really works, right? So I think team is very important. And then one of the things that, so team skills, of course, the software that you use, the team's attitude, are you ready to pivot? And the other thing is that there should be somebody on the team who makes business decisions very clearly, or is open enough to do research on what's happening, the latest trends in investing and venture capital and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, yes, you need money to start the business, but it should not happen that finally you are working for somebody else. If you give too much of your percentage or stake of your company to an investor or multiple investors just to get them on board and look, feel your website looks good by having them as advisors or as investors, then you are doing a disservice to what your team is coming up with. So these decisions are very, very important. So I would say the team is very important. Yes, the idea is important, but not to take any emotional decision. There should be somebody who has a cool head and a business head, like to take all these decisions. This is very, very important.
Right. So when you take these pitches from the various startups, okay, I'm sure there are different kinds of pitches that would have come to you. Okay. So there could be some pitches which are very unrealistic in nature as well, but you may see great potential in the idea or probably with the team. So what criteria would you use to select in this particular circumstance?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and this is why, like, what differentiates us at 3D Experience Lab from Techstars and others. So when Techstars or MIT Engine, when these accelerators, incubators, when they look at a company, because they have their own investor arms, they also invest in the company. They take a, say, 5% or 6 or 11% stake in the company. So that means that they have to look at their business plans and all that stuff very, very keenly, right? What is their ROI year on year, business projections and all that stuff, right? But in our case, we are not too concerned with that. The reason is that we don't invest in the company. We don't take their intellectual property. What we are interested in, are they solving a problem that is worth solving? Right? For a company that's making like 3D printing, human cells, or a company that's, launching small satellites, or a toy robot for children with autism, or especially able children. So these companies, some of these will not go big because it's not a consumer product. It's a very niche market. But are they solving a tough problem? Are they solving something that can challenge us, our software? And are they aligned with the UN SDGs? Are they doing it for the sustainability angle? Do they have a sustainability angle? Are they doing for the betterment of society? So this is our thing. So that makes our job a bit easier. So we are looking at companies who have a good team solving tough problem, even if they are not, we know that 4 years, they might not be able to solve it. That's fine. We need to help them.
All right, great, amazing insight. Okay, so Arushi Kakkar is asking, as a designer, how do you ensure you don't get bored of your job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I have some personal experiences to share. I think everything starts with your awareness, like your self-awareness, like what actually takes you, what are your drivers and barriers and your triggers. So for me personally, I used to listen to a lot of French music back in the day, because like I like to communicate, and I like to listen to what's happening outside my world. I was always like in the pond but not off the pond. That was my mentality always, to reach out. So listening to French music back in the day when I was at Pentair, say 5-6 hours a day, we used to work on SolidWorks with headphones on. So that really helped me take my mind off if there was something very boring. Then you need to have like even if it's hobby, or you like sketching, for example, or if you like sketching a particular thing, whether it's landscape or something, that could actually help you. But then, at the end of the day, it's all about tricking the mind. Whatever you say, like, given that we have this primate mind that's coming all the way from, the simian brain, or coming from monkeys and all that stuff, you'll see the branch on which you are, you will never be interested, in that branch for the rest of your life. You always want to look at the other branch and you just hop on, which is not bad, right?
Hmm.
But you have to trick your mind. Whenever that part of your mind comes up, you have to simmer it down, you have to make it busy. And what has helped me is to maybe look at new things, or follow some people. Like, there's so much content on YouTube. Follow somebody who you've not listened to, or yeah. So I think you have to trick your mind. You know better what's your
Right.
trigger.
Cool. So Abhishek has taken the initiative to offer about 20 plus licenses for the DQ students. These licenses are student licenses for the 3D creator role with SolidWorks X Design. All right.
Right.
So we have announced this, and we are giving this opportunity for the students who have just finished their 12th grade and they are passing out and getting into a design school. And we have about 22 students who have shown that interest, and they are all present in this particular Zoom
Okay.
meeting right now. Okay,
Okay.
so they also have some questions. So I would like to give that opportunity for them to ask some questions directly with you. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So guys, can we start? Whoever would like to ask the question, please unmute yourself and make your video visible, and then you can ask the question with Mr. Abhishek. Okay, Ahona, you can start with you. Okay?
So, hello, sir. It was very inspiring to hear you speak. One thing that really struck out to me was the wheelchair project you had. So, could you share the story? How did Little Ben react, and how nice was it for you guys to see the reaction? And
Oh yeah, definitely. And so first of all, great work, and I've followed you on Instagram.
oh, thank you.
So yeah, definitely. And I can share some links with Umesh later, and he can forward it to you. But the main thing is that this is a project called Magic Wheelchair. It's an organization, and you can look them up. But what they do is, if you have a build team, right? If you and your friends, 7 8 of you, if you want to do something for a kid, they connect you to a local kid. Right now, it's only in the US, and then you go there, you do interviews. I have the complete thing here, but I think it will take time. But you take interviews, you take measurements of his or her wheelchair, and in case of SolidWorks, because it's so popular, that most often what happens is that the wheelchair company is our customer, so we just talk to them, and they've been very kind in two cases to give their 3D model to us. So then in my lab, because we have all these 3D printers and the digital fabrication equipment. So my colleagues, we've done two builds. They would come back and then spend nights, and late nights and no weekends and all that stuff. And these are guys who are like director of UX at SolidWorks, or director of product definition and all that stuff. So they would come together, quick ideate, and then so once the 3D model is done, we simulate it, virtually and all that stuff. But then we start. We have these foam. There's a I think 2 inch foam, polyurethane foam. So we basically stick layers on layers of them, and then we use shopbot, which is a CNC router, to cut the shapes. And so this is how the shape takes place, and then there's painting and all that stuff. But then we go to the, we call them kiddos, to their house to check the fitment first. But at that point in time, we don't show the entire thing to them. We just check the fitment of the chassis that we've come up with. And once that is done, so in the last build for Ben, the team came up with a very innovative idea, wherein the chassis had magnets, and the whole foam thing comes like just comes together using those magnetic latches. So it's amazing. So I can definitely share with you, Umesh, some of
Oh,
the links, and you can see the whole. So we have blogs on which you can see the entire process. So it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I remember it very well. You have shared it in the our IIT MDes alumni.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember them very well. They're pretty good work, and the
Yeah.
kids were very excited. They were very very excited to have this. Yes, cool.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, Vibha.
Good evening, sir. It was really inspiring to listen to you, and of course, very kind enough to showcase all of your work. So, thank you for that. I have a question for you. So, we're all students who are now stepping into design college, and we may have some sketches of certain ideas or certain concepts that we are working on just at home and stuff. So how do we take those simple sketches and ideas and make it? How do we take that forward?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. It's like more about skill, but so one of the things that I've seen, because I also used to teach design and visual communication back in the day. So the first thing is that no sketch is a waste sketch. So you need to document everything, but at the same time, when I so making a portfolio is such a big thing for a designer, and people are saying, oh shit, I have to make a portfolio and all that stuff. So I have to put my best foot forward. That is important, but it's also important to show the horizontal reach of your human mind, right? So have say 60 sketches, right? And then take three of them and take them to say two notches up, maybe detail or something like that, and then just one sketch. You can use, so there's so many ways you can render, whether you're using Photoshop or if you have a Wacom tablet, well and good. But even if you have you just have access to pencil or pen as a medium, so I would say don't try to do all 60 of them, just take one or two, because at the end of the day you just have to show your capability of converting one of your ideas to this presentable form, right? It's a duty or it's a responsibility of a designer to create many ideas. It's also a duty or responsibility to take just a few of them to further notches up to the final thing. So if you're doing this for 60 of them, I don't think it'll do much justice. Just put your best foot for one or two of them. So this is what I feel. And then be experimentative about the medium that you choose. So I was not a very like markers came very late in my life. So I was not very good at them initially, but I found that I was good with all these so colored pencils and all that stuff. And I was a very quick sketcher. I have a lot of sketches I can show you later, but I was very quick at that. So I never tried to go beyond my capabilities to make sure the strokes are slow. So it's your own style, your natural style. Just don't force too much around your 10 different things, but follow your style and look at other designers' work. I think that could be something interesting.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Right, cool. So I would like to take this moment to basically explain a little bit more on what DQ Labs is and what we do here. So Dion, could you just share your presentation on that? It's a
Sure,
small
sure.
5-minute one, and then we'll get back to the question and answers with Abhishek. In fact, there are a very good lineup of questions that are coming on the YouTube live chat. I think they are very useful for everybody to answer. So please stay back. Okay. Thank you.
Umesh, if you
Yeah.
can allow screen sharing.
Um, right. Can you please switch on your video so
Yeah.
that I can find you?
Yeah.
Okay. And make a post. Yes. We should have the option now.
All right. Fantastic. Right. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible, Umesh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Right. Thanks to all who are coming here. It's very nice to see so much of participation from everyone. But just to talk a little bit about DQ Labs, um, we've been creating design superheroes since 2006, 2007, and we're based in 7 cities across India. And what we focus on as an organization is ideation, right? So we help students generate tons of ideas, and then what we help them do is channel these ideas into something useful. For example, what Siddharth has done, he's his initial sketches have been modified and channeled till he's made something interesting, right? And through this, there are tremendous opportunities that are possible, including architecture, including product design, communication design, UI UX design, and fashion as well. um, so DQ Labs has been started by Umesh and Sean. Both are designers from IIT Delhi, along with Abhishek Bali as well. Um, so Umesh is a TEDx speaker who's worked with Jaguar Land Rover and Hyundai Motors, and Sean has worked with General Motors as well. They're both the founders of DQ Labs and Examplay EduTech. Now, Examplay EduTech is a learning platform, and it's won the NASSCOM Design for India Award, which is one of the top awards that an organization could win in the IT space in India. Um, the area of research that Umesh and Sean have is in the area of learning design, which means if something needs to be learned, how should it be taught? All right. So this research has been tremendous, and it's been presented at the Singapore Learning Design and Technology Conference as well. Very well appreciated within India and globally. So we do a lot to spread the awareness of design. So we have a free sketching program. If one of our counselors could share the link here, it would be great. We have these industry e-meets like what we have with Abhishek Bali today. Uh, very, very significant designers and brilliant designers have come up for this. We have the industry school, the school meets. Now, tomorrow onwards, we're starting the series called the architecture school meet. So we are bringing in various architecture schools. So please look out for the email. So any of the DQ Lab students would have received an email. If not, just message, and we'll make sure that you receive the email. Send us a small little message on this chat room. Apart from this, we have our services where we help students explore design, um, really understand, like what Ahona did, just to figure out whether design is something she wants to do. We have the skill development programs, we have entrance exam coaching, and of course, portfolio development as well. Now, one of the things that makes DQ Labs unique is our focus on live projects. All right. Uh, we've had our own students designing logos and working on live projects and paid internships for companies, and that actually is tremendous exposure to them, and we do believe that this exposure makes them a well-rounded designer even before they get into design school. um, a unique setting that we have for our students is the ability to participate in Designathon, which is a platform where NGOs come together with professional designers, and our students are part of that process to solve problems for NGOs. So the next thing, and all our programs are done online. Absolutely every program is done online. We have the live webinars similar to what is happening here. And there is something we want all our class 11 and class 12 students to look out for, which is the design hackathon. We're going to be announcing this shortly. It's an online hackathon. We're expecting people from all across India and outside India as well to participate in this. It's going to be a team effort. So look out for this announcement. It's an inter-school competition that's going to be announced soon. But because of all of these activities beyond the regular curriculum that we do get a lot of students who perform well. And here you see Ahona's name #1 in the NID UG list. So you'll see her in the UC list as well. But our ranks are tremendous. NID PG, we have 4 first ranks, or rather the first rank in 4 disciplines. Tremendous NID UG scores. Over almost 60 students have cracked NID UG. Over 110 students have cracked NIFT. brilliant results in JE Paper 2 as well. Please do follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. DQLabs.design Quotient is where you can find us. We're located across 7 cities and we're also present online. So, back to the question and answer session. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
All right, thanks, Dion. So our student Nidhi has a question. Nidhi, would you like to ask? Nidhi, you're on mute. I'm sorry, Nidhi, we still cannot hear you. No, Nidhi. So fine. So I think you can probably fix your mic, right? So Rajul Jain, would you like to go next? All right. As they get their mics ready, so let me just ask a couple of questions from the YouTube live chat. So Manoj Rajani is asking, can you please tell me how to evolve from a student fresher to a professional? What steps they need to take up?
Oh, so you ask me?
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay. So from a student, sorry, what was the word?
Can you please tell me how to evolve from a student fresher to a professional?
Oh, student fresher.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the most linear path to doing this is to look at designers, what they are working on, what they are doing. And see, again, design is such a broad field that there is no, don't make one icon in your mind. Don't make one design icon like, say, Ross Lovegrove, or say for architects, say it's Tadao Endo or somebody. Look at the whole variety, the diversity of designers, architects, visual artists. So what you'll find is that there would be one or two of them, maybe three of them, whose style you really like, and start from there. Start from sketching, start from whatever you have, right? If you have access only to, you don't have access to markers or something, if you just have access to pencils, just do that. Just don't think that, okay, when I'll have Wacom, then I'll start, whatever you have, just start with that. And you will see that with time, those skills, those hard skills that take time and that need to be honed, that will actually that'll be the biggest investment you can make, and that will actually take you further notches up at a very, very quick speed towards a professional, to being a professional. Now, if you look at definition of a professional, depending on what you're looking at, they will be using some skills in terms of some technology, or maybe they are in a particular industry. Like, for example, if you think of a mobile phone design industry, or say automotive, for example. Now they'll be using some templates, they'll be using state of the art your tablets, they'll have access to clay modelers, all these guys who think in surfaces, and they'll have access to CATIA or all this. So you cannot have it right now, but what you have access to is your time, especially in this COVID era, your time, your dreams, whatever you have right now, just make the most of it. And so do your homework, and when those skills or those resources come to you, you can easily transition. You get what I'm saying? Right now you cannot become a professional designer because maybe you are not that age, or there are some stage gate processes, but make sure that when they have to take a decision, between say among 5 candidates, so you have done enough of groundwork in terms of sketches, and you have inspired your mind to do that. There's not a too much of a difference between a professional and a design enthusiast who's put in so much time. It's just like, one day you have not cleared your 10th exam, the other day the result comes out, and you become your master of the whole syllabus, right? It's just like that. That's your first job. So there's no line. I think I've seen so many designers. One guy you should definitely follow. His name is Marius Kinder or Kindler.
Right,
He's
right. I do follow him. Yes.
amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing work.
Yeah, from Sweden. Look at his
Right.
skills. I'm 100% sure that he would be like better than most of the professionals I've seen in life.
Good.
Right.
Yes.
So it's all accessible.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So Amisha Isha is asking, in the future, things are going to be dependent more on machines than humans. So how will that affect people's role in design?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've given a lot of thought to it, and I have had discussions because one of the things that being in the tech industry, in a creative software industry, there's always this line whether you know Katia or SolidWorks, what they should evolve as, right? But again, the thing is that the role of technology is to facilitate human decisions, right? At the end of the day, there can never be a replacement to human mind and to the aesthetic eye, right? So you can, using technology, you can uh, speed up the workflows, you can shorten the workflows, you can take human errors out of the equation. But when the creative eye has to take a decision, then it'll nobody can replace humans. It's just like for example, film industry. Look at this. There's no way that robots will start making a film. There's no formula, right? Even if there's some films that have been made using a formula, but they have not succeeded. So there will never be end to a creativity. Its definition might change, but there's no way that creativity and the aesthetic eye and human beings mind, taking charge of the whole creative process, that is not going anywhere. So I think you are in the right profession or right bracket if you are thinking of being a designer. Yeah, and skills, you can evolve with times, and your software will become more easy to use. But even with VR, for example, AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, we have a lot of stuff in our lab, in my lab there. So I was looking at it that there's a new field called hand tracking UI. So the way you track your hands. So there's another field that's coming up, but it's again a creative field. So thousands of designers will throng to that. There'll be technologists and all that. So they'll try to make the workflow easy. They'll try to make it more like to offer a better design experience. But that means that a new field is opening and new people are coming to. So there's no way fields will stop opening up, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we can actually see that in implementation in a movie called as Minority Report.
Yeah.
Right. So the finger tracking the fingers and hands and how do you communicate? And it's pretty
Yeah, and
interesting.
I remember, Umesh, I think this is your MDes thesis, right?
Thanks to Saumitri sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Saumitri, he has he has given me that direction. Great. Um, Fawaz Kiliani is asking, if I want to design a product for a problem, and during the design process, if I end up in a different direction, not a product solution, what can I do? How can I select a problem to design a product?
Yeah, there are two questions in there, but this is an
Yeah.
interesting question. So, if you are in a startup environment, then it becomes a very tough question to answer, because that means that your strategy, your basic product strategy has pivoted, right? So, it's actually very interesting, because I remember my days at Pentair. I always like to give an example so that it's not coming out of my mind but experience. So we did a very, very interesting exercise. It was called creating a bugs list. So you, as a business, the business that you are in, like we were in water filtration and consumer products and all that stuff. So we created a bugs list, which meant that our salespeople, who were very much in touch with customers and end users, based on their feedback, we created 450 bugs. And these were, some of them were like, when I'm trying to change the cartridge of a shower filter, or a faucet filter. So in US you have filters. then it's very smelly. You have to crouch under the basin, and it's very smelly, and all that stuff. Or sometimes I don't know what's the temperature of water and all that stuff. So based on that, we started solving some of the problems. But then again, this is how the whole workflow works, that if you have a need in the that you're solving for, if the need evolves, or you think that based on the budget or the time restraint or the scope of the project, a new problem is taking precedence, or it's more important or critical to the path, or to your say design intervention, then I would say that you should definitely rank those problems and start solving the more critical one. That's the whole agile process about. Because it starts with an assumption that when you start a problem, it's just like driving with your fog lights on, right? Like your headlights in a fog. So you cannot see more than 5 meters, but that doesn't mean that you will stop until the whole fog has gone to drive from point A to point B, right? So I think that agile approach is the best. Always keep ranking the problems that you're solving. Okay, even if you're solving problem A right now, and tomorrow problem B comes up, and you think that by solving this problem you will achieve business goals, then you'll just keep it at a status quo and start solving problem A for now. So this is called design pivoting, right? So nothing wrong in that. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, yeah, great, great. Okay, so the students who are getting this 3D license, okay, they would like to understand how they can use it or practice it, or how they can basically make use of the tab. Could you please throw some light on that?
Oh, right. So how it works is that so if you know how SolidWorks works, basically, it's like it's called a parametric software, wherein, and I can send you some videos, Umesh, that you can forward to
Yeah,
them.
yes.
That just imagine the some years ago, the direction of the industry was that software used to come in a DVD or CD, Blu-ray, hard disk and all that stuff, right? Blu-ray. So you would insert that in your laptop or your system, and you would start working on the software. You download and install and all that stuff. Now the direction of the entire industry, whether it's Dassault Systems or Autodesk, Adobe, all the creative software industry, is everybody is moving to the cloud. So this offer the 3D creator role, which gives you access to X Design or SolidWorks X Design, is basically a cloud-based software. What that means is that whether you're using Mac or Windows or even like Tab, you can access as long as you have been invited to a particular cloud, right? So Umesh, if you can send me the email IDs of all these students, I
Sure.
can add them on the cloud, and then you can see that once I can send you some directions also. But once you log in for the first time, you will see there are some tutorials. But the beauty of the software here is that you are also given something called a 3D space,
Mm-hmm.
where you can create your a collaborative space, which is just like a folder on the cloud, and you can add other students. And that means that if Ahona has created a space and added somebody called Amit,
Mm-hmm.
so only Amit and Ahona can work on that particular file that's on this. And then suppose they want to add another Srishti, so then they will take her email ID and they will add her. So now three of them can work. So as long as all these 22 students, like as long as Srishti and Amit have access to, they are on the same cloud, so they can do that. So I have interesting videos I can share with you.
Okay,
In the
great.
interest
So
of time, I'm not giving a demo, but I think that
yeah,
would be
yeah,
much better.
sure, sure. So we'll send you a list of email IDs of the students, and they can get access to that particular app.
Right, right, right.
Great. So Lalita Modali is asking, can you please talk about the different design careers and choosing process? I believe you also have a 20-day program on that. All right. So this is more for the DQ labs
Yeah.
question. All right. So we have something called as design exploration program, where students explore 15 different design disciplines over a period of 20 days. And currently we are having it as a 8 Sunday program. And I would request you, ma'am, to please um, get in touch with us on our number 959-100-1000, Okay, I think Dion has mentioned it in the live chat. So please get in touch with us, and we will share you a couple of videos which explains you more about this selection process. Okay, cool. So I think I will take this one last question from Aditya Sriram. How come you don't get stuck in one idea? I find myself sketching a good idea according to me, and then my next idea will be all around that design. Can you tell me how I can overcome my problem?
Yeah, I think you'll have to repeat the question. I didn't get the
All
first
right.
part. Sorry.
So, how come you don't get stuck in one idea? I find myself sketching a good idea according to me, and then my next ideas are all around that design.
Yeah,
So,
this is a very interesting question, and this is like, I mean, it's a creative block basically.
yeah,
Um, so so there are many ways to actually tackle this, because this is something that happens with all the designers at Samsung. What we used to do was that, say if you have a week's time to design a concept, right, and like design means not just sketching but to detail it out in a to a particular level, then for first half of Monday we would actually sketch a lot, and then by the lunchtime we would destroy all the sketches, right? Because what happens is when you physically do something, like one thing is that you delete a file, right? Whatever you say, the way humans have evolved for so many millions of years, all this technology is just like 30, 40 years old, right? But you cannot unwrite or erase the value or the signals in your mind when you do something. And whenever you sketch, your ego and all that stuff is sketched out, and you physically crumple that piece of paper and throw it in a waste basket. So that actually triggers new ideas. So try using that approach. That works with a lot of designers. But I completely understand. Even as a design student, I remember, like, for all the design exercises we would say, okay, let's you know s- sketch something, a concept or something. And if a concept looks good, like as a sketch, we think, oh yeah, let's finalize it. But again, the issue is that you have to have more rigor in the way you do it. The other way is, again, looking at how designers work, your top designers, like your visual artists or visual designers, like there's a guy called Harold Belker, if you know, like automotive guys. So automotive guys who are working on these renderings, they just don't sketch the very first time and they just render it. For every single render that they take to a level, they might be doing hundreds of doodles.
mm,
So there's a very good video by Harold Belker in which he's doing all the small doodles and then taking one of those ahead. So I would say, uh, don't, when you are sketching concepts, don't worry about the quality. Just think that you are sketching this for yourself and not to show anybody. Then you'll always come to the right idea. Because if you're sketching, if you're not very comfortable with sketching, just bear in mind, all the great architects, most of them did not sketch well, right? It's all
right,
about the imagination. Just
right,
don't think the other way. You cannot compare a line on paper with the ingenuity of human mind. So your mind is more powerful than the sketch, right? So you have to make that switch. Again, it's about tricking the mind. So don't think that every sketch you will show in your portfolio. Arrive at a particular developed sketch, then you can put all the bells and whistles to it.
yeah, absolutely. In this context, what I also suggest is to hone one skill, one communication skill very, very strongly. You know, like Abhishek was also telling that, okay, he has mastered the SolidWorks, Solid Edge, right? SolidWorks, yeah. So you need to have one communication tool. It could be either sketching or a 3D modeling or clay modeling or physical modeling, whichever way in which you can communicate your ideas powerfully. You know, so you need not be good in all the aspects, right? But at least one aspect you have to be really good. And again, quoting what you have said, jack of all, master of one, right?
Yeah, at least
So
one. Yeah,
that is important, right?
yeah.
Okay, great. Um, I think we have crossed our time. Okay, so what I suggest is all the guys who are attending the Zoom meeting, you please stay back here. Okay, I'll go off the live chat. Okay, and we can continue our discussion, chatting with Abhishek here. Okay, and Abhishek, thank you so much for your time. Okay, and it's been a great exposure for all of us, including me. All right, so fantastic work you are doing, and we wish you all the best for your future.
Thank you. It was a pleasure interacting with everybody.
All right, awesome. Okay,
I'll
so
stay back, right?
yes, yes, please stay back. Okay, let me just go off the live show. Okay.